You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. I'm happy to report that our presenting sponsor continues to be the entertainment payroll company Extreme Reach. They have the most comprehensive suite of tools and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. If you are creating content, you need them. Call them and tell them I sent you. To kick off this year, I sat down with writer and filmmaker Julia Camara. Originally from Brazil, Julia has made several award-winning shorts. She has also written the feature films Area Q, Open Road, and Occupants. She recently released her experimental feature called In Transit, which won Best Experimental Film at the Glendale International Film Festival and is available to rent or buy on Amazon Video. We talked about her career, her films, and we spent a minute unpacking the Kavanagh hearings as we recorded during that week. Somehow we kept our sense of humor because we laugh a lot about the absurdity of gender inequality. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. And you can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. If you haven't already, check out the Kiss My Age show, which is where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about anything and everything, all the things that matter. It's hosted by Lasta Drakovic, Karen Samuelson, and me. We laugh, we cry, we learn stuff. All right, here's my conversation with Julia. Have a listen. What do you do?
I am a writer, producer, director.
All the titles, all the things.
I think those are the main three things that I do. I mean, very few people know that I also edit. I edit a lot of the stuff that I work on. I've done a lot of short films. If you watch one of my short films and there's no editor credited, it's because I did it. And I just didn't feel like putting my name yet again on one of my films.
So you wear all the hats. Let's call you filmmaker.
Yes, that's what says on my website, that I am a writer, filmmaker. Yes.
And I saw you've done 1 million shorts.
Yes.
And a feature?
Yes. Yeah. So I just completed a feature film. It's my feature directorial debut because I've directed a lot of shorts.
What's it called?
Called In Transit.
And what's it about?
We just had our premiere at the Glendale International Film Festival on October 10th.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting. We had a full house, which
Yay.
Was amazing. I honestly didn't expect to actually have a sold out theater for my premiere, but we did. The film, so it's an experimental film. We shot most of the film in one day.
What?
Yes. Yes, thank you. That's usually the reaction I get, and I love it.
A feature film.
A feature film, yes.
Narrative.
Yes.
One day,
yes.
Carry on.
So how did we do that? So I have 2 actors in one location. So most of the story takes place there. 2 people at the airport. They both had either missed their flights or had a flight delay. So they're both stuck at the airport. Late at night, no one else is around, just the 2 of them at a little all-night cafe, and they start talking, and that's the meat of the film. They open up, talk about their lives, where they are, why they missed their flights, what happened, and secrets get revealed. They get very personal with each other, and basically what starts is just conversation starts to shape where they go next in their lives. So that's...
I love it.
That's the gist of the film.
Like a new take on My Dinner with Andre?
Yes. So a lot of people have compared this film with My Dinner with Andre. Yes, a lot of people compared In Transit with My Dinner with Andre.
And what an acting exercise.
Yes, especially because, and here's why it's an experimental film, it's all improvised dialogue, all of it. So I wrote an outline. I knew the story that I wanted to shape, but the actors didn't know exactly what the story was. They finally just saw the film completed for the first time, and they're like, "Oh, that's what we were doing." And I'm like, "Yes, that's what we were doing."
Oh my God!
The 2 leads, Branca Ferrazzo, Oliver Rayon, amazing actors. They never met until we got on set.
You didn't rehearse?
No. They didn't. All they knew was like their character. Like I told them, like, this is your character, this is your backstory, this is why you're here.
Did you tell them where they're headed?
Yes. Yeah. So they knew, like...
They knew their motivation.
Yes.
And their character.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they knew, like, you're going to come here and you're going to meet, a person of the opposite gender, and things will happen. And they
But did you tell them where they were headed at the end of the scene?
No. No, the things that I definitely wanted. I mean, they knew a lot of things. Like they kind of knew what they had to tell each other.
Yeah.
They knew enough to make it
Okay.
happen. Like they knew that there were certain points that they had to hit. They knew that I want you to open up to them, but only I want you to only reveal this information if you feel like you get this from them. So it was a lot of. And there were big chunks that we shot in that 12-hour day that I'm like, yeah, this is not, it's going in the wrong direction.
You'd say cut, try again, this time do this.
I would call cut and talk to them individually, let's do this, let's do that, and there was also a couple of, because they're mostly sitting, talking, and there were a couple of just visually to break it up a little bit. I moved them around that room a little bit. So there were a few moments where I'm like, all right, this is a good moment to cut and redirect them, and I'm also going to change where they're seated, so it's a little bit visually different.
So the time span of the film, does it take place over 2 hours, or it takes place over a whole evening?
It takes place over, one evening, like a block of hours.
Okay. What on earth made you think this could work?
So I didn't know if it was going to work or not. I just knew that I wanted to do it.
This will be fun.
I honestly, I had no idea. My husband, Tim Aldridge, he's my producing partner on this crazy endeavor. And we talked a lot about it. And I kept going back to him and going, do you think this will really work? Is this crazy? Should we do this? And he reassured me. He's like, no, it'll work. And then the one element that was not shot all in the same day, where there's flashbacks that illustrate some of their backstories, and we shot those first. So those were a good. It was a good way for us to really figure out how do we do this? When D-Day comes, when the big shooting day comes, how exactly are we going to do this? So having shot the flashbacks ahead of time, we learned that we had to shoot multiple cameras, otherwise it will never cut. We did multiple takes. But halfway through, we're like, yeah, this is an editor's nightmare. If we did the entire, we could probably cut this scene cleverly with, even though nothing they're saying is matching, but we're not going to be able to cut the rest of the film. So then, in a lot of ways, the flashbacks were a way for us to rehearse and a way for the actors to kind of get into character and for us to go, okay, what exactly do we need to do to make this work? So the day that we shot 90% of the film, we actually shot 3 cameras.
Had you ever done anything like this before?
No. Everything that I've done before and after has been, your usual, here's the script and rehearsal day and, and continuity and all that stuff. No, that's why it was an experiment.
And it worked.
Yes.
Were you so thrilled?
We were, every step of the way, we were like, wow, it did work. We are shocked that it does work. It
How
does
about
work.
that?
Yeah. So, and even after we had our premiere, that was one of the first questions that was asked at the Q&A, what makes this an experimental film? Because everyone watched it without knowing what we know, that because there was no script and they improvised all this dialogue and all the the emotional journey they go through, this was all real. They made it up as they went.
So walk me through how the casting was for this. Did you know these actors?
So I did my 2 leads. I knew them. They had auditioned for me for a different project that then got reshuffled and recast, and a bigger producer came on board. But I collect actors in a way. I always know in the back of my head, who do I know that I can use again, that I know it would be really fun to work with, that will bring their all. So then I tailored a lot of the characters around their special skills. There's a song in the movie that Oliver wrote and performed, and Branca, she's a aerialist, she's a circus performer, so that became part of her character. And I knew that for years. I've seen Branca perform multiple times, and year after year I'd go hey, when are we gonna make that film where we put you performing? Because that's so cool. It's so beautiful to watch. It's so interesting. It's such a different world that I feel we haven't really explored in in narrative film.
Was that in the flashback or in the airport?
That was she didn't do it live. When I first told her, I'm like, so do you want me to perform live for him? And I'm like, no. No,
We're going to hang a silk from the ceiling in the Starbucks.
We could have, because the place where we ended up shooting was not at the airport. It was a different location. But they had high enough ceilings where we probably could have done it.
That would be weird, though.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, look, at the airport. I'm going to...
Oh, that's handy. Let me show you what I can do.
Yeah, we were even trying to think, like, is there anything that you could do live for him? Like, because I feel like people ask you that a lot. Like, I was an actress when I was a lot younger. Like, most people don't even know I once acted in my life. And people would come up to me and be like, well, show me, do your acting
something.
thing. Like, what's, do you know a monologue? Like, I want to hear it. And I'm like, we're at a dinner party? Like,
no.
Like, this is not, that's why, like, part of me thought, like, oh, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if he, like, asked you to do it? And, like, is there something you could do? And she's like, no, there isn't. Not without, warming up and equipment. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So those became the flashbacks, yes.
So can we talk about your journey as a filmmaker?
Yes, let's.
Where did you start? What did you start doing? I know it wasn't directing feature films.
Right, I know, right? That was my first job ever. So I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised. I moved to LA to go to film school.
Where'd you go?
I went to Columbia College Hollywood. It's now in Tarzana, not too far from here.
Did they change the name, Columbia College Tarzana?
No, they did not. It's still Columbia College Hollywood.
That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, the school has changed a lot since I went. Like, I've recently met a lot of students that go to that school. When I went a certain number of years prior.
Like three to five?
It used to be that, like, maybe only 15% of students were female, and now it's more 50-50, which is exciting but makes me sad because the industry isn't 50-50 yet.
That's the puzzle, right? What happens between film school graduation and jobs?
Right. At least back then, it's like, oh, well, most likely we'll all keep doing this, right? Because about 15. I mean, I remember, like, working on so many sets, when I was still in school, and I could literally count the number of women in one hand. Like, I'm like, oh, look, there's a female grip. That's awesome. And there's another female PA, and I'm like, and then everyone else is, catering. Okay, there's a girl there.
Makeup.
Don't forget
makeup.
Crafty. Oh, yeah, there's always makeup. Yeah, there's a crafty lady and makeup, and that's about it.
And has that changed?
I go out of my way to try and hire women when I shoot because I know the numbers are,
Dismal.
so low. Yeah, I try to do my part. Like, I feel like everyone should. Like, if be the change you want to see in the world. Like, if you want to see more women working, like, hire women when you're in that position. But I don't know that it's changed as much as it should.
Not yet.
I don't know. I have a good friend that works below the line. She's a still photographer, and she works in Atlanta, and we've been friends our entire lives. And she's like, yeah, there are women, but not as many as there should be, and there's still a lot of weird conversations that happen on sets that shouldn't be happening because it turns too much into a locker room because there's so many men. And
every time my kids and I drive by a film shoot, as I'm driving, I say, okay, count the women. Right? They're like, Mom, do we have to? Yes, count the women. We get it.
But I know, right? We're the worst. Yeah, I'm totally that lady that's like calling my family in Brazil and like, please go see this film. It was directed by a woman.
Put your money where my mouth is.
Yeah, please support it. I want to see the numbers go up. And yeah, I think my mom got an earful about Wonder Woman. And she's like, we've heard it that Wonder Woman was directed by a woman. We're going to go see it. Stop asking us to go see Wonder Woman.
We got it. Okay.
I know. I'm totally the killjoy when it comes to that stuff.
Me too.
But so I went to film school.
Yes.
I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to go, like as far as the industry. When I went to film school, that film school was really hands-on. I'm pretty sure it still is, but it was really hands-on. You get to do a lot of short films. You get to work, like I did a lot of different things on sets. I was actually also like PAing outside of the school. So I got quite a few different PA jobs, which is the best way to really learn, like, this is what happens on a film set. Like, this is who does what, and
You get to see everything.
yeah, like, that's the film school that most people need, I feel like. Go be on a set, like, go work on a film. You know, if you land with a crew that's giving enough where they'll explain things to you if you don't know things, you know, that's really one of the easiest way to learn. But then again, nowadays, it's like people shoot things with their cell phones, you know. I'm a little bit older than most people. So back then there wasn't, like, technology wasn't what it is now. Like, most of the things were being shot on film still. So it was like cost prohibitive to be able to just go shoot and see what happens when you're done, you know. Even editing software wasn't like, oh yeah, everyone has editing software in their computer and it's, you know, it comes with your Mac. It's like, no, that wasn't. All those things required like skill and money. So it was.
Yeah, I remember when the first avids were so expensive.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my god. So did you work as a translator for a while?
Yes, I did. Yes, correct. So I'm originally from Brazil. I know everything there is to know about subtitling and dubbing and all that stuff. I still do that kind of work. I actually created subtitles for my own film because part of the film was shot in Portuguese.
Oh, cool.
So I brought, you know, my skills in that arena to the film, and it in a lot of ways it has helped me because of this background of being bilingual and knowing the two languages so well. That's kind of how I landed my first job as a writer on a film called Area Q, which was a co-production with Brazil, US, stars Isaiah Washington. You can actually watch it on Amazon Prime right now if you want to. But that film was a co-production with Brazil. I met that director because a friend of my husband's, actually, he acted in, he's our good friend. We've known him for years, but he acted in my husband's film before we even met. And we were just out to dinner with him one day, and he's like, oh, you know, you're Brazilian. I just worked with these Brazilian producers. They're really cool. Like, you should meet them. And he introduced us, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. I want to work. And I think I sent him one of my scripts, one of my like writing samples, and they kind of called me like a couple of months later saying, hey, we need someone, like, we're developing a project and we need someone to come and write this. And like, you're bilingual, you're Brazilian, we're going to shoot this all in Brazil probably. And, you know, and that's sort of why how I got like my first writing job, really, was developing that script for them. And it was a really fun experience.
Cool.
But yeah, the subtitle world still keeps me going when, you know, when there's no film work happening.
That's a good day job?
Yes. I'm still translating, and I have many years of experience in that world.
And then did you move into writing and directing your own things?
So that was my first job. That was 2009, I believe, even though the film didn't really come out until like 2012. But that was 2009 when we shot that, and I got the chance to like go to Brazil and be there for all of the filming, which again was another like learning experience. It's like that was my post-grad studies was
That was your Brazilian film school?
Yes, being on that set was like, yeah.
How was it different?
I've learned that, like, you know, I was so used to the union world where everyone's jobs are so specific here, and like if you're on the union set here, there's a lot of things that you can't do or shouldn't do.
You're not touching the things you're not supposed to touch.
Right. And I've noticed in Brazil, you know, because it's so smaller, and specifically where we shot in the northeast of the country, so there isn't as much crew as like in the southern, southeast states, where there's more film production, like Rio, São Paulo. We shot in Ceará, which is northeast. Because there aren't as many crews, like I've noticed that there's more of a real like independent world feel where like this needs to be done, and like whoever will like
who's closest.
Whoever will like jump in and do it. Actually, that crew is so hardcore. I'm like, wow, you guys are amazing. Like, it was so hot. It's like over 100 degrees every day, and they would like do it without I guess because they live in it. They would just do it all without complaining, day in, day out, like the long hours, and a lot of like grip and electric, like they would nap at lunchtime and then keep going, and there was a lot of partying afterwards. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, how do you get up the next day?
You guys are amazing. You're my stars.
You're hardcore.
But I think that was the main difference. It's more of and there were I even joked, I remember, because then I was on a set here, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait until you end up seeing all the on-set romances, like the crew kind of started like hooking up towards the end of the shoot, and I'm like, there really isn't that here. I don't know, like it didn't happen in other sets, and I'm like, I was half expecting on my second film, I'm like, when are those set romances gonna start?
That happened in Brazil?
That happened in Brazil, yeah. I think also because where we shot, like, there are very few people that were local to it, because we shot in a really small town. Very few people were local to that town, so we were all staying in hotels. There might be that angle too, like, we were all out of town.
Yeah.
So that's why there were more.
Showmances abound.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was fun. It was like a working vacation in a way, because I got to see a part of Brazil that I actually didn't really know.
And you grew up there until college?
Yeah, I grew up there until college.
Did your whole family move, or just you?
Just me.
And are they still in Brazil?
Yes, yes, they are. Yes. I mean, I have my daughter and my husband here now, but yeah, the rest of my family is still there.
And where'd you meet your husband?
Film school.
Oh. That's nice. And what is he? He's a producer?
Yeah, he is. He's my producing partner on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. He's a DP. He's a photographer. He does a lot of post stuff with me.
So you guys make your films together?
We do. Yeah.
That's handy.
Yeah, we collaborate on pretty much everything. And we joked, because we've been married for a very long time. And we also joked that, like, oh, if we ever have a child, it's because we need one more person on this, like, 2-people crew. And now that we have a daughter, I'm like, all right, when is she going to be old enough to...
Yeah, can she lift that yet?
Pitch in, yeah. Can she carry some equipment?
Is she interested at all?
Well, she's only 4.
Yeah.
And I have put her in 2 of my films so far, including In Transit.
So she's acting.
Yes.
Good for her.
Yeah.
The family business.
For now, she's acting. We'll see. We'll see where her interests lie when she's a little bit older.
Now, tell me, what drives you as a storyteller? What kind of films are you making?
So I've done 2 sci-fis, Area Q, which was the one we shot in Brazil. And then I did another sci-fi project called Occupants, which you can also see on Amazon Prime, with Star Trek's Robert Picardo. He's an amazing actor. And those 2 sci-fis, I mean, Area Q came to me, the outline already existed. I brought a lot of different things to it, but it was already there, a lot of it. It was just up to me to sort of flush it out and give it some structure. And there were even like some locations they knew they were going to use, so I wrote a lot of things to fit within the locations they wanted to use. And then Occupants, which is the other sci-fi thing that I did, is 2 characters, 1 location, low budget. I just had a meeting this morning and I'm like, it's my thing now. Like, I know how to make movies with very little money. It's like, give me a lot of money. I don't know. I probably won't know what to do once I get.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I will know what to do.
I know.
I will make the most amazing film.
You'll make
when
the
I
most
get a ton
of
of money. But my skill of low budget filmmaking has come in handy in a lot of situations where crews that are used to having a lot of money don't necessarily think the way that we think when we know what it's like to have to make stuff up.
It's way harder.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of problem solving that the mind of the independent filmmaker had. Like, you already have those skills built in where...
Right. How can I fix it for free?
Yeah.
Instead of throwing money at it.
Right. Like, there was one thing on a bigger budget film that I did, Open Road, where, like, there was an issue that we had that, like, would require a whole company move and we were going to lose a day. And I'm like, well, how about if we make it all take place here? And everyone looked at me and went, oh... yeah, of course we could do that. And I'm like, but
I just saved you $150,000.
Right? It's like, yes, put it straight into my pocket. Like, the savings,
bonus.
The savings that you just have should come directly to my checking account.
What did you do with Open Road?
So Open Road, I know I'm going all over the place. Open Road was my second film after Area Q. Open Road stars Camila Bell, Inti Garcia, Juliette Lewis.
Oh, that's the title of the film, not the company?
Yes, no, that is the title of the film.
Okay.
Not the company, even though there is
a company.
There's an amazing company called Open Road. Open Road, so I wrote that after Area Q, and my husband and I, we were looking to produced that ourselves. And I met the producer, Yuri Singer, because a friend of mine was like, hey, he needs someone to translate a script from Portuguese to English. Or the other way around, I think from English to Portuguese, because he was doing this project in Brazil. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And we've met, and I took the script and, took the translating job. And I mentioned to him that I'm like, hey, so I'm producing this film. I'm actually looking for more money. And he's like, oh, okay, well, what's the film about? And then I kind of broke it down and the amount of money that I had and the things that I kind of already had in place. And he's like, okay, send me the script. And I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
And then I think I went to meet with him at his house, and I brought a hard copy of the script. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I brought him a hard copy of the script when we went to meet. And as I am driving back, he lived in a valley and I was on the west side, and I'm driving back home, and I get a call, and he's like, I am 30 pages into the script and I'm loving it, and and this is happening, and oh my God, I'm so excited. Let's make this movie. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even home yet.
Oh my God, what a great call.
But sure, yeah, let's make it happen. And the rest is history.
I mean, that's the response you want.
Right?
That's
I know.
amazing.
I mean, it's such a great, I love telling this story because it really hasn't happened since.
But it happened.
And I would love I would love to have that experience where somebody's so excited about my material that they call me minutes after I've left, their office. So that was Open Road. And you can watch that. I think right now iTunes. It was on Amazon Prime. It's not on Prime right now, but you can watch it on iTunes for sure. Or you can watch it on pay on Amazon to watch.
Yeah, encourage the people to pay
yes,
for it.
Pay for it. Go to Amazon. Give it however much it costs right now. I didn't even know. And so that was Open Road, and a lot of my quote unquote breaks have come kind of like that, unexpectedly, places that I didn't necessarily think anything was going to come of it. It's kind of how I've gotten jobs. That's why every year when I feel I'm at a slump and not a lot's happening, I'm all right, I'm just waiting for the unexpected now. The unexpected, the thing that I didn't think that was going to be anything, that's the thing that I'm waiting for. And
looking to receive your surprise.
Right? Yes. Okay, universe, send me whatever you're going to send me for the year. I'm waiting. I'm ready.
Well, I think it's also important that you didn't just sit around and say, I'm a director or nothing, or I'm a writer or nothing. You take the translating jobs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that leads to things.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, because, you got to eat.
You got to eat.
You got to
feed
right?
the baby.
Right. And, and for the longest time, too, I felt I wanted, because, when Open Road started, I wanted to direct that one. And I ultimately didn't direct because, we got more money and we got all these different things. And the producer ultimately brought in another director. And so a lot of it, too, was kind of letting go of that expectation just to see the project, come to life. So yeah, this is you kind of have to be flexible. It's all right, it's a trade-off. I don't quite get to do it the way I want to do it, but
And you wrote that one?
Yes.
So how painful was that to let go of the directing piece? Or was it?
It was painful, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it was not something that I did. It was a process. It was a process.
You didn't just go, okay.
Yeah. I mean, as I have with other projects since that I've wanted to direct and didn't get a chance to do it. Yeah, it did take a little bit of a grieving process of so you don't get to do it the way you wanted to do it, but
it's getting done.
But it's getting done.
Which is also important.
Yeah, and you're going to get paid, and, and all those things are important, too. And it's interesting, because then for the longest time, because I started mostly wanting to be a writer, really. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to do. Once, I'm going back and forth in time, but, once I finished film school and I figured out all the different jobs that exist within the industry, I really felt writing was the thing that I wanted to do, even though, I love editing, and because all those things are, they're really a way to create the writing, really, if you think about it. Directing, that's another way to, that's another way of writing, really.
The writing is the essence of what is happening.
Yeah, even editing, you're writing it again. every incarnation of the film, you're basically writing it again. Like you write it when you write the script, and you write when you're directing, and then you write when you're editing. So it's all like, it's kind of all the same thing to me. But I set out after film school, I'm like, I want to be a writer, that's what I'm going to do. And then I wrote a lot of scripts, and like, I feel like I spent close to 10 years just like writing and then submitting and then like meeting people and going, hey, read my script and blah blah blah, and in a lot of ways like nothing was happening with any of that. Like I was pushing as hard as I could, and like nothing was really happening. And then it wasn't until I actually shot a short film after film school that I feel like things like took a turn. Although again, it was the unexpected. But when I heard from the producers of Area Q, I had just finished like shooting a little short film, because after so many years of like, I want to be a writer, I want to be a filmmaker, and then you write scripts and nobody produces your script, so you feel like, what have I been doing with my life? Like I have a pile of paper at my desk that isn't really, in a lot of ways, like this is nothing. If it's not going to get produced, it's really just a paperweight on my desk. So then I made this little short film, and we got into festivals. And I feel like that's almost like sometimes if nothing is happening in your career and you make a move, like the unexpected happens. Because it was around the same time that I got that call for Area Q. And like, even though the things are not related,
action creates action.
I still feel like the universe hears you when you go, here, I'm going to do this, because no one's hiring me. And then the universe goes, and there you go. Now somebody will hire you, even though it's not related to the work at all. It's like,
no, but now you've proven your intent.
Right? Yes. Like I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm not just waiting for people to give me jobs. I'm creating my own jobs. So then, because I started directing as a way to produce my own writing, as a way to see my own writing come to life. And then I've discovered this love of directing. So now a lot of the things that I write are for me to direct, but a lot of them are not. Like there are a lot of scripts that I've written that I have no intention of directing.
So do you have a stack of scripts now?
I do. I do. I have a stack of scripts.
Do you have representation?
I do. I do not. I do not.
Would you like representation?
Sure. Send
like
it my way.
I'm handing it out. So let me grab one out of my pocket.
Right? Like, are you going to make the call right now? Make the call. Make it happen right
Let's
now.
do it on the air. Yeah, I don't know any lit agents, but I'd like to. Call me.
Most of what I've done, and I've been represented in the past, but everything that I've done, I've kind of done it on my own.
Well done.
Yeah, like all the movies that I've made either, because I got introduced to the producers at the right place, right time type thing. Even the Open Road story, when like one of the actresses was asking me on set, like, so how did you get introduced to the producer? Did your agent send him your script? And I'm like, no, that wasn't it at all. And I told her the story, and she was looking at me like I was pulling her leg. And I'm like, that's actually what happened. Like, that is the story. And she was like, what? I'm like, I'm not joking. Like, this is how it happened. And people go like, oh, this is LA. Like, your gardener has a script, right? That they're trying to produce. Like, everyone here is a writer, right? Everyone's trying to do this. I'm like, yeah, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, sure, I'd love representation. At this point, I almost feel like all the single women that are constantly like looking for husbands, and then they get to a certain age and they're like, forget it. I don't want to get married anymore. That's it. Like, I'm just going to be single forever. That's kind of how I feel about representation. I'm like, I don't know. It hasn't worked out for me. I'm just going to be me until,
Or it's working out regardless. So that's
right?
good.
Yeah. It's like, I haven't found the match. I haven't found like the love connection with any manager or agent. So.
But it hasn't stopped you from making movies.
No.
That's good.
No.
What do you make of this time for women in the business?
Wow, there's so much I want to say about that. How much time do
We've got time.
I think so many things. I still remember not too long ago when there were two films that came out with female protagonists that didn't do well in the box office. And there was like a studio exec that the next day said, okay, no more female protagonists for us, because those two films didn't do well. So we're done. Like, we're not
forever.
We're not investing in those anymore. And I'm like, looking at the films, I don't even remember the films were, but I do
was
remember
gonna ask if
reading
you
it.
remember.
But looking at the films, and I'm like, they had other issues than a female protagonist.
Right.
Like they were like very distinct films, and there's specific reasons why they worked or didn't work, and or made money or didn't make money. But the only thing they really truly had in common was that they had a female protagonist, and it almost feels like, in a lot of ways, the industry was looking for excuses not to tell our stories.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, women don't go see films.
We tried that.
It's like women don't see films about women. Women only see films about men, and it's like, what?
Because that's all there is to watch.
Right? It's like, yes, we do. That's why I love that films like Crazy Rich Asians are coming out, and people
Wasn't
are
that
going,
delicious?
like, who knew people want to see movies with Asians in it? Nobody knew that until this year. Like,
It's so ridiculous. Who are these people?
I don't know. But I mean, I tell people that I'm so excited about Wonder Woman, because I'm like, I've only waited my entire life to see a movie about Wonder Woman, and
Right.
it's like, it's only been my entire life.
Like Black Panther. Who
yeah.
knew there'd be an audience?
Right.
Tyler Perry
right?
knew.
Right? It's like they have to make like 3 Iron Man movies before they go, let's make a Black Widow movie. Maybe. I don't know.
It's a risk. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, sure, we'll watch, 3 Thor movies, however many Hulks, how many Batmans have we seen?
And Spider-Man's enough already.
Right? Yeah, like, how many Spider-Mans have we seen, honestly? And like,
I've only seen one, to be honest, because I don't care.
And how many actors have played Spider-Man though? Like,
All of
right? It's like, and there have only been 2 women playing Wonder Woman, like, ever. Think about it. And one was on TV.
Right.
And that was
In the
in
70s.
the 70s, right? So, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like Hollywood is waking up. Like, oh yeah, look, we should be hiring women.
There's other people in the world.
Right? Yeah, we shouldn't just be telling the story from the white male perspective. It's like, there are a whole other, sections of the population. And I feel in a lot of ways what it does, it's like, I remember, watching Star Wars as a kid, and and like playing Star Wars with my brother, and like we'd fight over like who get to be Luke Skywalker, because that was the hero of the film.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you be Darth Vader, I be Luke Skywalker, and it's like, in a lot of ways, I'm like, there really weren't other heroes. I mean, there's Princess Leia, of course, but in a lot of ways, it's like, who's really the driving force of that film? It's like, yes, she is there too, but like, I always played Luke Skywalker. That's why I feel like, yes, let's, my kid now will be able to like be Rey, because they've made a Star Wars film with a female protagonist. They've made a few now, which is exciting. With,
it is good.
Rogue One, and like, it's about damn time that little girls had, action heroes to look at and go, oh, cool, I want to be that person, like, kicking butt on screen. Now, of course, like, we've only come so far. Mm-hmm. I've also heard, I've heard both. I've heard people going like, oh, you're a woman, we're going to use that to market this film.
Yeah.
Like,
that's hot right now.
Somehow that's exciting, and I'm like, yes, I've only been a woman my entire life, so it's very exciting that I'm a woman who happens to be a writer and a filmmaker. Let's use that to sell my film. Yes, let's do it. Like, it's not something that I can control, but let's do it. And I've also heard the opposite, like, one of the first internships I had on the Warner Brothers lot when I was still in film school. And my male boss at the time asked me, like, so, what do you want to do in the industry? And I think at that point I said, I'm like, I either want to write or direct, or maybe do both. And he just looked at me and went, well, but you're a woman, it's not going to be easy for you to be a director.
No, he said it out loud.
Yeah, no, to my face. Like, as if like I'm telling you a secret that, and I remember going at that point, like, it was what, like 19, 20, and I don't know that anyone had like said it in that many words. Like, what I heard a lot, especially, coming from a foreign country and everything, I heard a lot of like, hey, film is not really a viable career. I've heard a lot of that. Like, that, how are you going to make money doing that? Like,
no one makes money making movies.
Right. We all do it for free.
Somebody does.
Everyone does it for free. Like, go to the studios. They have not made a dime. It's all volunteer work. Like, all the heads of the studios are volunteering their time for the good of the planet.
People just don't know.
Right? But that's one of the things that I heard a lot, but I had never heard anybody saying, like, this is going to be hard for you because you are a woman.
Mm-hmm. But try anyway.
No.
Just like,
That was kind of it.
Poor dear.
That was it. It's like, well, you're a woman. How are you going to do that? And I don't think up until then, I don't think that I realized that it would maybe be an issue. The fact that I'm a woman, I don't know. I don't think that I had in my entire life really thought about, like, there's a resistance to hiring women in this particular industry, or any industry really. I feel like I'm much older now, and I've looked at numbers, and I've written different stories that I'm more aware of how it's like there's resistance in hiring women in all industries. Mm-hmm. Like I have a script that I wrote about the first female police officer. And then in the LAPD, and then I went out and researched a lot of like women in law enforcement, and it was kind of eye-opening for me. Like the numbers are super low there too.
How must that have been for them?
Yeah.
Now, were you discouraged by that? Were you like,
by hearing that?
Yeah.
At the age of 19, no.
You're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm like, I am 19, I know everything. You don't know anything, old white dude. Yeah, I don't know. I think so, the stubbornness in me just went, well, I'll show you when I'm making millions of dollars doing this, you will regret your words.
You'll see.
Right, yes. Just watch me. I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, again, I don't know. Like, there's a difference between being 19 and not really knowing any better, and being the age that I am now and knowing a lot more, but...
You keep saying that, and I'm looking at you, and you look 20. So
yes, 19 was last year. I am now.
I've grown a lot.
22. No, it's been a few years for me. But I do find that exciting. I have met a few like young female writers, and they have the same level of persistence that I had too at that age, and it's kind of what we need. But it is needed that more of us women break into this industry. Like that's absolutely a need. Like it cannot continue to just be a white man's job. Honestly, that's just not a viable business practice.
Time's up, dude.
Time is damn up. Yes. But yeah, I mean the changes are slow. I mean, I'm a member of the WGA now. The Women's Committee is very active in, doing different events. One of the things that we do every year in March to celebrate Women's History Month is we put together a screening of like a film written by a woman. And I remember when we did Thelma and Louise a couple of years ago, and I hadn't watched Thelma and Louise in so long. And I think it was before Me Too like had become a movement. It was before all of that. But watching that, it was heartbreaking because that movie is 25 years old, I believe. It was the 25th anniversary. And it felt so current that it was upsetting. Mm-hmm. That, the sexual assault, like all the things, and like, should we go to the police? And no, because they're not going to believe us. And I'm like, oh my God, this could have happened today. Like this movie could have been written today. We've gotten
nowhere.
And it feels like, yeah, and even, Callie Corey, the writer, she even said, like, it feels like the ice caps are melting faster than like women are, having any progress really done towards like the jobs that we get, and just sexual harassment in general and sexual assault, and, not to get political, but
especially lately, it doesn't feel like we've come very far.
Right? Again, it does feel like the ice caps are melting faster than we are progressing in the industry.
Can we say it's the last gasp? I mean, this Kavanagh thing, come on.
So upsetting, honestly.
Can it be the last gasp of that power structure? It's so absurd.
I really hope so. Like, I really hope that we're watching the end of something. I hope, like, this is the patriarchy grasping for straws, I hope.
I mean, it felt like the mask slipped. They were completely exposed for who they are. We can't unsee it. It has to be the beginning of the end.
I hope so.
I can get political. It's my podcast.
Right?
That's how I felt about it.
Right? I know. It was so upsetting. It was just, so many people are talking about like it's not a matter of whether or not we believe her, it's a matter of whether or not we care that this man sexually assaulted this woman and still gets this job. I mean, talk about failing up. I really feel
Talk
like
about failing up. Even with no accusation, talk about failing up.
Yes. I mean, just his hearing was like
Absurd.
If he were a woman, like he'd be so effing done. To just cry her way through like pretty much a job interview and get that emotional and not answer questions and blow up and like and still get the job. It's
like I really just want to ask them, is that the best we have? That's the best guy of everybody.
I know, right?
He's the best one.
I know.
Come on.
I know. I can't, yeah.
Can we have a standard? Anyway, all right, I'll decide what to cut out of that rant. But we gotta get it out. It was upsetting.
I know, right? It's very upsetting. I mean, for so many women, it really feels like this entire year it's been like, can we get some kind of group therapy going? Because it has triggered so many women just to hear her, her account of what happened to her. It's like, it triggered all of us. Like,
just one blow after another.
Yeah. It's, to all the like sexual assault survivors out there, it's like, that's so upsetting that that she told her story the way she did and then basically got dismissed. And that's like...
Dismissed.
And then people go like, why don't women report sexual assault? I'm like, I don't know, because then the president laughs about it, on one of his rallies. And he's still laughing about it. He's still talking about how... anyways.
That's what
I'm going to get so overheated over this.
That's what was so upsetting was the utter dismissal of all those men in power.
Yes.
It was so upsetting.
I do. I agree with you. I hope that we're watching the beginning of the end of this, and that I've told people before, like, I hope that in a few years when my daughter's old enough to understand, there won't be a need for organizations like Women in Film or the Women's Committee at the WGA and all the film festivals that are dedicated to like women's only films and Alliance of Women Directors, like all these organizations that I support and I'm a member of and find very important. I hope that my daughter grows up in a world where like all of these are obsolete because women are working and we don't need that anymore.
We would like nothing better than to stop talking about it.
Right? If none of those things needed to exist anymore. It's like,
exhausting.
Oh, you don't need women in film because we're working, we're doing it. We don't need
it's just people in film.
Yes.
All the people.
Right? I would love nothing but that. But, hopefully before the ice caps fully melt, we will get there, before the post-apocalyptic future,
All right, so now
I know we veered off.
Everyone's ready to jump off the bridge.
We veered off into very dark territory.
What are you excited about?
There you go. Yes,
What's next for you? What are we looking forward to?
So In Transit, you can watch that on Amazon. It's, so go to Amazon, look for In Transit, find it, watch it, comment it on it.
Share it with all your friends.
Share it with all your friends. Tell all your friends about this crazy movie that this girl made with no script and shot mostly in one day. And then get your friends to watch it. I'm sure you can put up a link. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, I'll put a link.
So people can go straight to it if they want to. So I'm very excited about that. I have a number of scripts that I'm always pushing. One of my pet projects is this script about the first female police officer in the LAPD. It's called Officer S.
I love that.
And I'm always pushing for that. I'm thinking, because I haven't had nearly as much attention as I would hope for on that script, I'm thinking that my next step would be probably make a short film to kind of get more attention around it. And other than that, like I'm always writing genre stuff. I write a lot of sci-fi. I like to write a lot of horror and thriller, which given current events, I feel myself fluctuating more towards comedy and other stuff because I'm like, it's too hard. Life is already a horror film.
We need a laugh.
Right? But I think I'm going to once I am done with the short film about Alice Stebbin Wells is her name. Google her, please. She was amazing. Her story really needs to be told. Like, I feel like I've been on a few podcasts where I talk about the Gospel of Alice. We need to make this film. Like, that's why, even though I'm a genre writer, it's why I set out to write this film about her, because there are, and it's probably why you do the podcast too, like, there are so many women who basically have made history and we don't talk about them.
We never
talk about them. We don't know who they are. I didn't know who she was.
I imagine she's a super badass.
I set out a few years ago, I set out to make this film about female police officers, again, because from being a kid and playing, cops and robbers with my brother, and it's like, we don't really have, we have them now. Like, there have been so many TV shows about female cops.
Cagney and Lacey.
Cagney and Lacey, right, yes. We've had them, and Law and Order, like, they've had a ton of awesome, like, female cops and those shows, but because I've always felt like there aren't enough, like, heroes for us to be like, oh, I want to be like this woman who did this. That's why I set out to, like, I want to know, I didn't even know who she was. Like, so I found her because I was writing something about law enforcement and about women in law enforcement. That's how I discovered who she was, and I'm like, she's a fascinating character. Why don't more people know, like, who she was? And when I tell people about it, they assume that, like, oh, in the 50s, right? I'll bet you the first female police officer in the LAPD was in the 50s, and I'm like, no, it was actually 1910. And yes, and people make the face you just made.
I'm making the surprise face. What?
Like, what? 1910? They had women in the police force? I mean, she really...
Did she have to wear a long skirt?
She did, yeah. She was given... Here are the fun facts that I love telling about Alice. So she was given no training. She was given no weapon. She was given no badge.
Good luck, lady.
She was given nothing. She basically then set out... She made her own uniform. Later on, they finally gave her a badge after she, had to ask
Prove
for
herself.
It. Yeah. And they mostly had them working, like, cases. She then went out and hired other women and pretty much built the department. But she was dealing with cases dealing with children and women, of course. But yeah, 1910, that was, like,
amazing.
Practically the Wild West at that point,
Seriously.
Like, it wasn't...
And the thing I think we always forget is when someone in an underrepresented community makes it in a very white male-dominated industry, they were 100 times better than everybody else in order to make it.
Yep.
We forget that.
Yep.
All right, I want to see this movie.
Get
too.
On it. Me too. Producers, Hollywood, come on. Make it happen for me.
I hear women are really in right now. So
I know, right? It's like it's a fad now.
Be a good time.
One of the challenges I've had with this script is that I've heard people calling it, like, is this feminist propaganda? And I'm like, yes it is.
Yeah, telling women's stories is feminist propaganda.
Right? Yeah.
Come on.
I think I've also had an agent tell me that, like, this seems like a footnote in the history books. And I'm like, really? A footnote in the history books? Because we devote how much time talking about men and their accomplishments? But, women are footnotes in the history books.
Wasn't it just last month they were taking women out of the history book in Texas?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. That's why we have to fight harder and create. If it were up to me, if I had the means and the way, like, I would spend the rest of my life only writing movies about important female historical figures, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, if I had nothing else to do, like, that's what I would be doing for the rest of my life. Like, I've researched a ton of women, too, that I want to go back and write about them. Like, luckily, there've been a few, like, female scientist films that are, like, now in the works, and it's a great thing that I'm not the only person thinking that, like, hey, we should all know these women. We should all know who these women are.
I'm hearing quite a bit of this lately, actually, which
right?
gives me some hope.
I know, right? Like, I years and years ago, I worked for a producer, and she had this amazing script that I don't think ever got produced. And I think now someone else is making it, but it was a movie about Heidi Lamar, who was not only a bombshell in the 40s, but she also developed, like, the technology that we use today in cell phones. Like, that was.
Yeah, I think someone is making that.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same script, sadly. It's a different script. It's a different crowd. But I remember, like, that was one of the scripts that this female producer was pushing a while back. And she also had, like, something about Madame Curry that still yet unproduced. I don't know if anyone's working on it. But, like, those are why? Why is it so hard to get those movies off the ground? And, like, how many movies about men have we done? About the same men? Like, I feel like... like they're competing.
How many Churchill movies are there?
Right? They're like competing projects about men sometimes. Like, wasn't there a year where there were like two Truman Capote films that came out at the same time?
Yeah, there was a year where there were 3 Alexander the Greats.
Right? Right?
It gets in the zeitgeist and then everybody does it.
And then I come with my like first female officer in the LAPD 1910. She was also like the breadwinner of her family. Like her husband was a stay-at-home dad.
It's like, whatever.
And people were like, I don't care. And I'm like, in 1910? Come on. To me, that was fascinating. But yeah.
Come on, that's good.
It's like, no, we don't care. Like, they've already made Mr. Mom. We don't need to. We don't need to make your film.
Okay, what did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
We may have covered everything, I think.
I made you talk for more than an hour.
So, yes.
Did we get it?
I think we got it, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Julia Camara for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out in letters, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And also, go subscribe to the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening, and Happy New Year.